Hey, good morning. Good morning to all of you. We are so very, very excited to be here with you today. And others that have been up on stage before us this morning spoke of gratitude. We too are grateful to have the opportunity to be amongst all of you amazing folks in the great state of North Dakota. So we want you to know that we recognize it's truly a privilege to be before you.
Absolutely, and we want to offer a very special thank you to many people around the state who make this process of education a lot easier by allowing great collaboration. Our REAs are great at promoting collaboration, and we offer our thank you to our local REA, CREA, for their hard work and dedication in helping us succeed. We also want to say a great thank you to our governor, and I had an opportunity to be on the Innovation and Education Task Force. It was a great opportunity, and it was mentioned earlier, our governor supports our ability to be creative in meeting the needs of kids, and I think we owe Governor Burgum and his staff a huge thank you for his willingness to each and every day go out there and pave the way for us. Also a thank you to the legislature. We came through a legislative session and we got a very healthy increase to our per pupil payment. So if you get an opportunity to thank your local legislators, understand we are fortunate to live in a state where our government leaders support our process, and we thank you all for that.
So over the past 2 years in Minot Public Schools, we've been working diligently to build intentional connections and shared beliefs amongst our staff. And one of those shared beliefs is the importance we place on personalized learning for students. And if we want educators to do a good job with personalizing learning for students, they too need that opportunity to get what they need so that they can do the very best they can as educators. And so in preparing for today, I was sitting in the backyard and one evening and trying to get some thoughts together, and this football comes flying across the fence, and shortly thereafter was my little neighbor Tony, who is going to have his eight-year-old birthday next week. And he's this great kid. He's got this round little face with freckles and big ears he hasn't grown into yet, and super high energy. And the first day I met him, he said, well, my name's Tony and I'm hyper. And I thought, we're gonna get along just great. So he comes and snatches his football, and then he realizes I'm sitting there, and he said, Melissa, what are you doing? And I said, I'm trying to get together some ideas to share with some friends. And he snatched the football, and he just flipped it in the air and said, hashtag share what works. Right? Hashtag share what works, out of the mouths of babes. So that's our theme. We're going to share with you some things that work for us in Minot Public Schools. So we know that one idea that works for us is to stay focused on that future that's undefined. We don't know what our kids are going to need or what our kids are going to be interested in. So one of the things we want to stay focused on with our teachers is that we look at developing professional learning opportunities for them that allow teachers, just like students, to learn and unlearn and relearn. So much like I said earlier, much like students, staff come to us and they have different skills and different needs, right? So it doesn't matter if we're talking about building relationships, which is first and foremost, or if we're looking at alternate curriculum delivery, or if we're looking at show me assessments. We need to be really creative in getting teachers what they need. What we do know for sure is that one size does not fit all, and creativity matters, and it matters at a level where it has risen to the importance of critical thinking and literacy and all of those foundational skills that we want our kids to have.
We have focused our efforts at Minot Public Schools on the idea and following Cynic's work that together we get better. We know that every one of us in our schools, whether they are a paraprofessional, a bus driver, a kitchen worker, a teacher, or a principal, all have a role in leadership. And leadership is fundamental in making a difference in how we meet the needs of an ever-changing student population. That being said, we have to focus our efforts on going to the point where we say clearly and concisely. Leaders lead from the front. They don't lead from behind. We need our leaders in front. We need our leaders talking about all of the good work we do. And because of that, we know that personalized learning makes sense because not every staff member comes to us with the exact same need. And if we expect our staff to be able to personalize the learning process for our students, then we need to personalize that learning process for them as well. This is important work, and this is all based on teachers. We have our teachers involved in a plethora of different activities that are all based on needs assessment. They're based on the excellent work that we concentrate on doing, and it is based on a personalized approach, not only for the teacher, but also for the PLC team by building. Together, we're doing some pretty great things, and now Melissa's going to share some of those things with you.
Okay, so share what works. So the first thing that is working for us is to offer our staff full course offerings, and that's not a new idea. Districts have been doing that for a long time. What's innovative about what we're doing is we're looking at the focus of that so that PLC teams can really come together and collaborate, and also the timing piece of that. So what we know is our teachers have expressed the concern that they do their best learning together, focused on their kids, their classrooms, and the units of study that they're working on. So we've tried to offer those full courses around the idea of doing a deeper dive into content so PLC teams can come together and do that work as they've requested. So in order to do that, we have to be really creative with time. So to advance all teachers, time has to be a variable that's manipulated a little bit. We're finding that some of our teachers that have younger children at home like that Friday and Saturday model because they can come together and maybe have grandma and grandma watch their kids or something. Others want like 3 consecutive Thursday evenings, or even like 3 consecutive days, or scaffold bounce where they pick a day each week. So what we know that we have to continue to do to deliver on quality full course offerings that allow for the deeper dive is to manipulate that time and give some offerings to our staff in that way. They basically want to have less time away from their families, their own families, to come and do a great job with their PLC school families.
Absolutely. I teach several course offerings throughout the year. My course offerings for full credit options tend to be that Friday night, Saturday option. It works well, and it gets me an opportunity to meet with some of our teachers in our district and paraprofessionals. It's a great option to be in front, but we know that doesn't work for everybody. So we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the different options that we have. We have now worked with Minot State University in a collaborative effort to offer credit for these course offerings. This includes a variety of different activities. Some are built in the schedule that are required, and some are options. So if we go to the next slide, Melissa, we could see an example here of just 1 week of activity in our school. We have different things that can pick up. These include power hour options. We'll be talking a little bit more about it. It includes some full class offerings and then also extended offerings. One of the greatest things I think we focused our effort on is making sure that our new teachers get the information they need to understand what they need to be successful in our district. And we're offering this year a new teacher university where we're doing monthly meetings. So we have an opportunity to follow up with those new teachers and to break that and chunk that information in a more understandable message.
So the previous screen just showed a couple days of Power Hour offerings. So what we did was built a menu, a professional learning menu of Power Hour opportunities that teachers can come after school or early evening and just come and get a booster shot, if you will, in an area that they're interested in, and we have a team of teachers that are committed to making this personalized learning opportunity happen for all of our staff. And so this year, right now, we have like 240 plus Power Hour opportunities for our teachers to come and learn new content. We also give them a voice in what's offered through a professional learning needs assessment. And then, of course, they have the choice of what they're attending, when they're attending, who they attend with. And we do have a couple of Minot educators here today that have been involved in that. So on break time, maybe you'll be able to have conversations with some of them on what it's like to be a recipient of some of that opportunity. So the first and foremost deeper dive we're doing is with full courses. This professional learning menu really allows teachers to build what they want and build what they need. But this piece is what we're the most excited to talk about today, which is an individual learning capsule. And last year, I went to Dr. Vollmer and asked if I could try this, and we had some conversation. He said, sure, why not? So before I even start talking about that, if you're a superintendent out there or a building principal out there and you have staff that come to you and say, could I try? You know, I just really want to encourage you to continue, not to be afraid to let your people try. And if they fail, they'll fail forward. They'll fail forward and they'll figure out how to make it better the next time they jump in the saddle and do a repeat of it. So basically, this individual learning capsule is truly personalized learning for all of our teachers. So what I had the opportunity to do is I reached out to a group of teachers and asked them to come on board to try this inaugural capsule. And the idea of a capsule is that you look at one thing in your classroom to make small, sustainable change over time. So the theme I chose was classroom climate, because most teachers need some support with that. And even if their classroom climate is great, they also oftentimes need support in advancing the kids that are always doing the right thing, right? So the theme I chose was classroom climate. I posed one question. The question was, what change in student behavior or student performance would you like to see? And that group came together having no idea what journey they were embarking on. But basically what we did is we ended up with a K through 12 PLC team of teachers that went to work on that same question. Each teacher that attended the capsule slapped up their growth opportunity up on the wall, and we had things from respect to leadership to transitioning better to empowering kids. And then all of the 20 educators or 24 educators in the course went around and gave them feedback and helped them hack possible solutions to making that happen in their world. And after they did that feedback round, the teachers got to go pull their poster back down, and it was so exciting to watch them go to work on organizing those solutions and what they could possibly try to leave with a plan of action. They left with a plan of action, and I generously gave them 21 days to go back and implement, and they went to work on just making small, sustainable changes with one behavior or one thing. And I have 3 slides up here of examples because of time, but I chose 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school for you today. So this is an example. Erin Zietz is an outstanding teacher in Minot Public School, elementary teacher, and she came in and said, okay, folks, I have the best class ever. I have kids that do what I asked them to do the first time I asked them to do it. She said, I'm having a dream year of teaching, and she said, so I'm not really sure about this. And then after some thinking, she decided, I want them to step up and have a leadership opportunity. So they decided on areas in the building that they'd like to define what leadership looks like, and she broke her kids into teams. They went to work on identifying what leadership looks like on the playground, in the cafeteria, and throughout the building, and shared that out with her elementary school, which really sprinkled that idea that all kids can be leaders. So she is just one example of the elementary teachers that had great success with this capsule study. Here's a middle level teacher who's a great math teacher and super high energy, loves teaching. And he came right away, and as soon as I said choose one thing, he knew what he was going to choose because he had great classes except 1 hour. And when you teach middle school, it seems like middle school teachers always have like 1 hour, right? That the kids aren't necessarily where you want them to be. So his issue was they weren't good to each other. So he said, they're basically, we want to extinguish some rudeness, right? So he went to work on a highlighting system that invited students to self-monitor their rudeness, and basically by the time we came back to reconvene, he had extinguished that behavior, so that hour too was now at the same level as his other hours, and he was absolutely alive with excitement based on how this opportunity was given to him to have such an effective change in his classroom. So yeah, great success as well. Here's my last one I'll share with you. This is Lori, and she's a high school Spanish teacher, and she, her last child graduated, moved out of the house, great teacher, but she still wanted to work on staying relevant, and so went to work on using some memes and some video clips. And what's exciting about that is her students actually took that over and started to bring them in, and it kind of started to become kind of bell work for her. So just 3 examples of what teachers can do when they are asked to focus on one thing in their classroom that would make their world better. So what we know, based on what we shared with you on the full course, offering innovations, on providing a professional learning menu of opportunity that includes power hours, and also that third innovation of doing some capsule studies, we know that we've just dipped our toe in the pool of possibilities. So this year in Minot Public Schools, we're gonna go to work to embed those further, and hopefully we'll be well positioned to do the next thing that is on the horizon for us.
The bottom line is, if you don't try, you don't know. And our focus on the notion that together, when we collaborate, we get better, is the basis of what we've done. We don't stand in front of you today as experts. We stand in front of you today as some people who had the dare to try something, and we're pleased with how that has worked thus far. So if you have questions for either Melissa or I, please reach out. Our contact information is there. We'd be happy to talk with you and happy to hear what you're doing in your buildings as well, because the bottom line is, whether we're talking professional learning communities at a local level or a regional level or a state level, together we get better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.